r/Nosleep. Posted by Reddit user RookieRobot. I was challenged to survive till next week for $10 million. Part 1. This Friday didn't seem unusual at all. I woke up, went to work, and came home. When I walked inside, my wife was sitting at the couch and reading a book. I left the mail on the counter. I was tired, so I decided to leave it up to you to look through it, she said, smiling at me as I walked in. I chuckled to myself as I began to sift through the mail. It all seemed normal, just boring old mail. But then I saw, at the bottom of the stack of letters, a completely black envelope. I'd never seen a black envelope, and while I suppose there's nothing inherently sinister about a completely black envelope, it still struck me as odd. So naturally, I opened it. Inside was a document, folded twice. In the center section of the document was one paragraph. This is what it said. Dear Mr. Jones, we have selected you for a game, or rather, a challenge. We challenge you to make it through to next week. If you succeed, you will receive $10 million. Nothing will be taxed from your prize. Our organization has associates in high places. And that's it. That's all you have to do. You fail the challenge if you commit suicide or opt out at any time by calling our number listed below. The challenge will begin on Sunday. Reseal and return this letter to your mailbox tonight. If you choose to take our challenge, best of luck. Z. Needless to say, I was perplexed. My wife, Samantha, could hear my laughter from the couch and walked over to me. Are you laughing without me? As a very over-possessive wife, I kinda need to know what you're laughing about, she said jokingly, whilst wrapping her arms around my torso and embracing me. I showed her the letter, and like me, she found it pretty funny. It looks like you got a secret admirer, babe. Do I gotta worry? She said, snorting with laughter. Definitely not, I said, giggling as well. We stood there in our dining room, laughing like a couple of fools. Laughter turned into kissing, and kissing turned into making love on the couch. After several hours of cuddling and leftover Chinese food, we mutually started to feel very tired and decided to go upstairs to our bed. Hey babe, Samantha said, stopping and turning around to look at me whilst walking upstairs. Yeah? I said, leaning close to her face while smiling. She leaned in even closer, as if she were to kiss me, but instead whispered in my ear, put that letter in the mailbox, or I'm never having sex with you again, before running upstairs giggling. When I got up the stairs, I could see that our bedroom was locked. I'm serious, she shouted from the inside. I want my 10 million. So, with feigning reluctance, I left and went outside with the resealed letter and placed it back in my mailbox. Saturday passed like normal, and I'd completely forgotten about the letter altogether. Until just a few hours ago. You see, I'm very weird, and occasionally I go out for late night walks on the weekend. I'm not entirely sure why, but it gives me a strange thrill that really gets my blood pumping. Why do I like my blood pumping this late at night? I don't know, I just do. But anyway, around 11 o'clock tonight I went out for one of these late night walks. All was normal. It was a bit chillier than I expected it to be, but I wasn't bothered by it. I was walking for a while when I thought I heard something in the bushes next to the sidewalk. I turned on my phone to shine a light on whatever was in the bush. We live in an area where coyotes are fairly common, and seeing one is always a special treat. If I was really lucky, I thought it could be a fox. I don't really remember what happened next. All I remember concretely was that when I turned my phone, it was 12 a.m. exactly. Then, a large, dark-clothed man leaped from out of the bushes with a baseball bat. From there, it was a blur. I can recall flashes. He must have had a knife on him too, because I remember laying in a small pool of blood. The next thing I knew, I was in the hospital. I won't bore you with the details of my hospital stay. Samantha was obviously distressed about the situation. I got a concussion and a small slash on my arm, blah, blah, blah. There were a lot of unusual things about the scenario, however. The bastard didn't take anything. Nothing at all. Not my phone. My screen cracked just a little when I hit the ground, which really pissed me off. Not my wallet or even my cool jacket. Honestly, I was a little offended that he didn't think any of my stuff was worth taking. Another weird thing is that our neighborhood isn't dangerous at all. We live in a nice neighborhood, in fact. Things like this doesn't even happen. The real estate agent who was selling the house next to us even came to my room to beg me not to publicly talk about the incident, for he feared that the elderly couple moving in might catch the drift that we live in a sketchy neighborhood, and decided to back out at the last minute. I obliged him. He seemed like a very nervous guy. He was around my age, and I felt bad for him. And perhaps the oddest thing about the situation was the 911 call that got the ambulance to pick me up. The bastard who conked me on the head used my phone to call an ambulance. And yet, he still didn't take my phone. I'd call it a crime of passion. But I'm fairly well liked, and I haven't pissed anyone off too terribly. It was late, so they decided to let me stay the night, which will be great for our insurance bill this month, but whatever. I was tired. Something was bugging me, though. I started thinking of the letter I received Friday night. The challenge was supposed to start Sunday, which was today. The one thing from the attack I remember vividly was the time. 12 a.m. exactly. It's all probably some weird coincidence, but I still find it off-putting. My phone is about to run out of battery, and I don't have the charger here at the hospital. So I'm going to wrap this up. I've decided that I will write an update every day this week, just to keep you guys in the loop. Good night, Nosleep. Hey everyone, I'm back. And first of all, I just want to thank everyone for the amount of support I've received in advance. It's honestly mind-boggling how much interest so many people are taking to this situation. Secondly, I just want to clear some things up. I seriously doubt my wife has anything to do with this. We've been married for 7 years now, and I know her better than I know myself. She is a real jokester, and sometimes she tends to run with jokes. Like last night, when she made me send the letter back, that was done jokingly. But based on other things that have happened today, I will be careful. Shit has gone down today. Speaking of which, thirdly, I should have listened to your advice. I should have run. Since I had a minor concussion, I was put on brain rest today, so I had to stay home from work. At around 5 a.m., Sam and I woke up and decided to go home and sleep in. I forgot to turn my alarm off though, and I woke up at 6 a.m. Great. I have one of those really annoying alarms that makes it impossible to go back to sleep. Samantha was somehow still able to sleep though, so despite my desire to go back and sleep, I got up. I went downstairs to scramble me up some eggs and toast. After eating my subpar breakfast, I heard my back door unlock and slowly open. What the fuck? Armed with a butter knife, I crept towards my back door. Once I leaned against the wall and peeked around the corner of my back door, it was standing wide open. But I could see nothing. Your mother's stuck in hell. I hear a low, gravelly voice shout behind me. As a knee-jerk reaction, I swung around and jabbed the butter knife into the assailant's head. I hit it and knocked it onto its back. I managed to get a good look at the bastard this time. It was the same man. I could tell from his build and clothing. He was a tall, bald, and buff Caucasian man. He got up, and I got to marvel at how tall he truly was. He nearly hit the ceiling with his head. Blood was dribbling down his forehead from where I had hit him. His face was twisted into a nasty snarl. I really thought I was gonna die. He charged at me and knocked me down, but instead of killing me, he proceeded to run out the door. Samantha came rushing down the stairs and ran over to me. Sam was hysterical, and it took a while to convince her not to call the police. I didn't want to get the police involved because, as several people mentioned, if these people organizing this challenge have resources to give $10 million to some nobody, they certainly have a lot of influence. And basically, I don't trust the police. After thinking about it for a while, I realized he obviously didn't plan on killing me. He could have easily strangled me to death or stomp on my face when I was down. All he did was quote The Exorcist, and then it hit me. I immediately told Sam I had to go. I got in my car and left for the town's mental hospital. I hadn't visited her in years. I wasn't very close to my mother. I came from a troubled home life, and I don't care to get into detail about that. But my father wasn't the nicest. And after he left my mother, she was mentally drained. Eventually, she had to be institutionalized. I walked up to the front desk and asked to see my mother. "Well, sir, we usually don't take visitors this early," the secretary said. "Please, I'm super busy later," I lied, "and I really want to see my mother." The secretary let out a sigh and said, "Well, since you haven't seen your mother in a long time, sir, I guess I can let you see her. She might not be happy about being woken up this early, though." An orderly was called down, and together we walked down the corridors of the facility. And finally, we made it to her room. The orderly opened the door, and she immediately shrieked. My mother was lying in a pool of blood on the ground, her intestines spilling out onto the ground. On the wall, written in her blood, were the words, "Still wanna play?" I felt sick. The scene was grisly. I went to the bathroom and immediately vomited into the toilet. The police and ambulance arrived there fairly quickly and asked me a few questions. They cleared me and sent me home. I decided not to tell Sam about what happened. I was dazed and confused. I sat in my bathtub for about an hour. Eventually, I pulled out my phone and typed the number in on the letter. I legitimately considered calling it. But then after a while, I decided against it. Call me stubborn, but I'm not the type to give up. I won't let them win. I'll make it longer than 2 days. I'll make it the whole damn week. So long as I kept Sam and I safe. I realized that I couldn't do that staying here. I asked Sam if we could go camping. It eventually developed into me begging, but she agreed. She saw how distraught I was and gave in. We don't have any camping supplies, so tomorrow I plan on picking up some at the next town over. There's some fairly large camping grounds right outside of the town, and there aren't really any sports shops near my town, and there's no way in hell I'm shopping from Walmart. I did, however, go to the local gun store and bought a small handgun, just in case. I detest guns, but I'm trying to be safe, and several of you have suggested it. I'm going to sleep now. I'm exhausted from today. Good night, Nosleep.